Hey, John.
Y'all are live.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. We're now live. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Can I please get a motion to approve the January 25th minutes? Jim, first. Can I have second?
Second.
David, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'm going to give you guys an update. I had told a few of you that we're already on the call. Brian is out. He'll return next month. I'm guessing he's out on paternity leave. Him and his wife had a baby boy on February 6th. So he is doing some bonding and doing some daddy duties. And I'm sure he is probably exhausted. So that's where Brian is at. Just to update you all on the Parkway landscape project. As you all, I'm sure, have driven on the Parkway, you see a lot of activity going on, which is great. Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I forgot to turn my video on, which is great. You see the palm trees, you see the irrigation going in. Council had approved that, so that is going in. They are, of course, now hopefully rocking and rolling, getting that stuff completed. The goal right now is mid-March. And so far, I know there was a lot of rain, but hopefully they're still on schedule. I have not received word otherwise, but if I do, I will definitely pass that along to you all as we find out if there's any change in timing. But again, it looks like everything will be done in time in plenty of time for the PGA. And right now, our flowers that we have, which when they're installed, they should be installed at a pretty, somewhat decent size. When this contract was approved last year by the former council, Artigues had worked with our growers. So our plants have been growing probably now for about 6 months. So they're just going to obviously transplant them into the ground, but they're already growing. So that's been going on for about 6 months. Any questions with regards to the landscaping portion of the project? Okay, if not, I think we're all here and interested to hear from Bert. Bert is with Berkeley Electric Co-op, and the goal is to at least maybe have him come to this committee quarterly. There may be things that he may have to report on and maybe not, but there may be questions you all have. If you have questions and if Bert cannot address them today, he would definitely get the answer and we'll get back to you via email. For our next time we have the meeting with him, if you have any questions in advance, I know Council Member Moffitt had sent me 3 questions that I forwarded on to Bert. And I'm sorry to let you all know, Council Member Conley, who is chair of the Public Safety Committee meeting, is joining us today because she has an interest in hearing Berkeley Electric Co-op. So she is joining us today for this meeting. So if you, all of you guys, could you just do a quick introduction for Bert, who's on the Public Works Committee, just so that he can put a name with the face? Warren, how about you?
Warren Stannard, pleased to meet you.
And he's a volunteer. And what's your background in, Warren?
Civil engineering, highways, roadways.
Great. So that big pothole on Betsy Carrison that has caused
That's
potholes this morning would be in your realm of expertise.
Did you hit it?
No, I saw it. I went around it.
Because a couple people hit it from the island.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't drive right behind someone. So the car in front of me was far enough that when I saw it, even though it's going 60, I was able to zip in the other lane and go back around. Jim.
Jim Gillum. My background is chemical engineering, and I've worked in refineries and chemical plants for my career.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Same here.
David, the Kika board chair, right?
Pardon me?
I was saying David.
Oh, I'm not a Kika board chair yet. So.
Oh, coach, aren't you vice chair?
Vice chair, yes.
Yeah.
My background is a degree in mechanical engineering, and I was in the construction business, mostly commercial, industrial. Then I decided to practice construction law, and that's what I've been doing for the past 30 years.
Nice to meet you.
Councilmember John Moffett.
So my career has been in retail and in small software industries, mostly about forecasting and predictive analytics.
Very good. Nice to meet you.
Ms. Conley, Councilmember Conley.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, my background is primarily at AT&T in human resources. And I'm head of the Public Safety Committee. And as Stephanie mentioned, I am working on the emergency management plan. And the mayor has a few questions he keeps asking me, so I'll be asking Bert
Joining.
an answer.
Sounds
This
good.
is Steve Sager joining.
Wonderful, Steve. Steve, we just went around quickly. We just started with Berkeley Electric. Could you give just a quick introduction and a quick background so that Bert with Berkeley Electric has an idea? He's on the
Well,
call.
hello, Berkeley Electric. My name is Steve Sager. I'm a retired PE, and I worked with Horace on the design of the Holy Spirit Catholic Church distribution system when we added the Family Life Center in the back.
Very good. Nice to meet you.
Wonderful. Well, Bert, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself, and I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, first off, it was nice to meet everybody. Thank you, Stephanie, for allowing. Sometimes you see Zoom calls and you see the people's name, but sometimes you don't understand what parties they are or what place they play into. So thank you, Stephanie, for that. Also, thank you for letting me invite me. I know we've been the hot topic lately. It sounds like we were the topic last night as well. I apologize. This is the hard part of my job is sometimes I get grilled for things that happen. And I think most of y'all are understandable. And today I think I'm going to just kind of go over where we are, our kind of a report card, health check on our system. And if you got any questions, I'd be happy to go over it. Stephanie, I didn't ask you this. Would I be able to,
Share?
can I share a screen?
Yes, you can share your screen.
Okay,
And
good
give
deal.
your title, Bert, for everyone.
Sure. I'm so sorry. Let me start over. So my name is Bert Walling. I've been in Berkeley Electric for 2 years now. I am the manager of key accounts and government relations. My whole career has been co-op. I've got 17 years in the co-op world. I'm just new to this area. I was more based out of the middle portion of the state, doing basically the same job. Not much growth, so I kind of exchanged my duties and moved more towards this area, which Berkeley Electric is the largest co-op in the state of South Carolina. So definitely went from no growth to a lot of growth. So my job is to ensure government, folks like you, as well as key accounts that are large, like Roper Hospital, I take care of them. So people kind of say, well, what do you really do? I just say I'm the politician. My job is to make sure that, are you happy? And Stephanie and I talk a good bit. And if there's any problems, I tell her to just please ask me and I will address them. And that's what I want to do today. And I'd love to have a great relationship with y'all. Look forward to meeting you one day in person, maybe play a round of golf or anything like that, eat some lunch. But today, thank you for inviting me. And today, what I was asked was, how's the status of the co-op right now? How is the status of the co-op for Kiowa? And very good questions, because December 26th was a pretty bad night. So if I could, and if y'all have any questions, that we can do that now or go over to end. But I'd like to just kind of go over a quick update on the reliability of how we are, what we're doing, and what has changed since December 26th. So if you don't mind, I'll kind of move forward. And also, I'll be happy to send this to you in a report, because this is probably going to be pretty fast and quick. I think, Stephanie, I got about 10 minutes. Is that right?
Or however long, but yeah, you can send it to me a report, and I'll shoot it out to all the members.
Sounds good. Very good. So once again, thank you. So everybody understands December 26th was definitely a monumental time that we would have never expected. Kind of like the Texas thing going on right now. It's basically the same thing. We did not expect it. They didn't really expect it, couldn't prepare for it. So we were kind of caught off guard. So moving forward, as of today, that substation, LaGreeville, is now back to normal. And I think I sent Stephanie that a couple weeks ago, just letting her know everything is back to normal. Kiowa is now being served by no alternate feeders. So that means you are no longer being fed by Seabrook, no longer fed by Wadmalaw. You are contained on your substation. Now, the reason we had that problem, and I know I don't want to continue to hash it out, is we were doing upgrades and we shut that whole system down. But as of right now, that substation, LaGreeville, has been doubled in capacity. So now we have the green light for any extra capacity. So we are double. We are twice as good as we were in 2019 when we were running. Took a little while to do it, and I think we've kind of gone over all that. But just to make sure it's clear, all substation, regulator stations, and express feeders are operating normally. I just want to make sure that's clear because we are truly now back to normal. I'll transition into this. I think some of the questions was asked, how reliable are you? We have 170 distribution feeders across our whole system. And it's a pretty large system, pretty robust as well. But in 2020, we did a ranking, and we call that the Consumer Minute Ranking. And what that means is 1 being the worst, as in you would think 1 would be great, but 1 is the worst. And then the 170 or 170th would be the best feeder. So we rank those, and I'll send this to you. Like I said, I'll put this into an actual report, but most of all of your feeders and station names are in the 130, 122, 109. The lowest feeder that you're on right now is at number 51. And once again, just want to make sure I'm clear, 1 is the worst. So you got a 130 range as being almost top notch, and then Vanderhorst, which is number 51, which is a little lower, but we are still trying to improve on that. So we're trying to pay special attention to those ranking feeders that are in that lower range. So we are trying our best to, get priority on those and try to start changing things out. System maintenance. This is an ongoing thing, as y'all well know. It sounds like most of y'all have professional careers. Totally understand. I've got a lot of civil, a lot of electrical engineers, I think, in the room. But one of the hardest things on the coast is we are dealing with consistent corrosion, and we are also replacing a lot of those equipment with hybrid stainless steel, fiberglass equipment. So definitely we are trying our best to monitor those things, keep it on a standard upcoming scale of trying to replace certain things, because that can be one of our weak points, as y'all all know that. I will try to show you real quick. Let's see if I can do this. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I may just send this to Stephanie. I was going to share my screen. Stephanie, do you know how to share the screen? Because I normally do Microsoft Teams. I tell you what, I will send this to you, but it's basically, there's a snapshot of the island. and it's got a bunch of different color variations. And what this does is it's going to show you in detail of how well we have inspected it and where we are. So it's basically going to show you what we've done and where we're continuing to move forward. So I will send that to you. I apologize. I don't see how to do that here.
Stephanie, you're muted.
I wasn't sure I was muted. Bert, I was saying at the bottom of your screen, if you hover over it, you should get a number of icons that pop up. One will say share screen.
There it is.
And
Thank
then
you.
you should be able to do that.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm sorry.
And then if you have a problem, you can always email it to me and I can share it. Okay, there you go.
Good, very good. So there's that. Once again, there's those rankings, and I don't want to get too caught up on all that, but as you could tell, we could do better on Vanderhorst 6 and 3. So there's definitely some room for improvement. This is what I was alluding to right here, and hopefully you can see that. That's a very busy screen, I know that, but those dots are representing what has been checked and has been inspected and has been repaired. So definitely I will send this to you to ensure that you see that the inspections have been done. I do know that we've already replaced like 94 pieces of equipment on feeder 5, and we're about 50% done on that feeder 5. So that was one of the ones that was basically a low ranking. So we are definitely putting that in a priority.
Bert, what are the dots? What does the green or pink and orange represent?
So what that means is, let me see if I can help you. And I'm gonna give you what this does. So if you could see the dots, and I don't know how well you can see this.
We can see the dots pretty well.
In each color variation, there's going to be different time frames and when it's done, and I'll send all this to you.
Okay.
I apologize for it's not that clear. It's basically just kind of a quick, okay, that's what we're doing. This is where we're going. And I'll send you the key code of the legend of what's going on. So
okay, sounds good.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to let you know we definitely are definitely looking at each one of these. It basically each dot shows the inspection level. And I'll go over that with you as well, just making sure. But the three, like I was saying, back here, those 3 feeders, actually 6 and 5 are the ones that we're trying to do most of the work on right now. And you'll see a more detailed report when I send this, but you understand that we're trying to do a better era of trying to get all that out and make it become more stable. So hopefully that gets done here in the next year. So we're really doing a lot. Just a couple more improvements. We have also replaced some switch gear. And I know a lot of this probably doesn't make much sense, but we're definitely trying to provide, we're putting a lot of money into it. We also are putting in a new express line to Cacique. And that's the next thing I wanted to show you. Now we're able to take it back from the Kiowa regulator bank all the way back down this way. So what we're able to do now is to make this much more sustainable. It's about, I think we average this is about $1.7 million worth of work we're doing right here. So what this is the express feeder that goes back out. And what we'll be able to do is anytime we lose power on one side or the other, we're able to isolate and backfeed. So definitely a lot quicker assessment when we do lose power. We can just click a button and then we can actually feed faster than trying to ride these lines and trying to find out what happened, repair the line. So we can also isolate. So just I thought that would be a pretty something important just to show you we're definitely putting money into your area, and we're definitely trying our best to review and to make sure that we are giving you a very good report, as in, uninterrupted power, which in our business, that's usually not the way we work, but we're trying our best to go towards that goal. So I hope this was not something that was, boring to y'all, but I thought it was important that we did bring each of those things out. We're doing things, we're adding, we didn't have to spend that 1.7 million for the express feeder. That's just to become more, we can isolate better. We can cut power back on a lot quicker. So, and we're definitely doing inspections. So hopefully that was some good information. And I'll give you my number or my email, or Stephanie, you're welcome to give them my information. Be happy to talk with you more, or if you want, if you need some more information regarding any of what I've gone over, or if you got anything outside of that, I'd love to talk to you. So Stephanie, I guess I'll take it back to you.
Do you guys have any questions for Bert?
I have one.
I do. This is Steve Sager. I have a couple.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Bert, I moved here in 1998, and as a retired electrical engineer, I started talking to Berkeley then, and I was just curious because I've done a lot of submersed cable design using both NEMA G and the Simplex custom design cables. What are our feeders coming from Johns Island over to the termination point underneath the water there? Are they G cables? Are they Simplex? Are they some other design? What are they?
That's probably going to be a question I need to ask, but I can about tell you what it is. I know what it is everywhere else. It's
Okay.
It's Okanite, made right here in the state of South Carolina. It's
I know Okanite well.
Yes, and that's
They're
what we
still in business? Good.
Oh, they are booming. We are. I mean, we probably put the most underground cable in the area, in the state of South Carolina, and yes, sir. We're using 133% consecutive concentric neutral 25 kV PE cable. So I do know that, but
I know you got a Y system out here. So.
Yes, sir. We do. We do have Y. We did not want Delta. Delta would be bad.
Especially in a wet area like this.
Yeah, we are definitely Y. Yes, sir. Exactly. Good to talk to you. Yes, sir.
Okay. And the other question I had, just out of curiosity, I understand that the transformer failure at the substation was, the failure was a transformer failure. Is that correct?
Is that December 26th? Are you regarding to?
December 26th, yes.
So what that was, as you well know, as being an EE, we had to bring down your substation. When I say your substation, that's your substation's being fed by Kiowa. And we named that LaGrieville sub.
Okay.
Transmission was hot. It's just we opened transmission and we left the power transformer off. And we backfed from the Seabrook side. So we took all the load off that substation to make sure that we were working safe.
Sure.
That's one of a very vulnerable area when you have regulators, substation, transformers, all that. So we were in there and we were trying to rebuild this and make it twice as good, twice as much more capacity. Two transformers.
Got it.
But what happened was we just, we thought the load would hold it. And we had, with the engineering was definitely sought out. It was just the island required more than what we could handle. And we tripped off that one of those transformers at the Seabrook. So that was the reason why, yes. Our transformer.
It was a trip, not a failure of the transformer.
No failure. It was overloaded.
I understand. Just a trip.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for the question.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the answer.
Jim,
And
you have any more questions, Steve?
Not at this time. I'm looking forward to seeing that the documents that Bart's going to send to you. Is it Bart or Bert?
It's
Bert,
Bert, but I'll go by
Bert.
anything.
John.
Thank
And
you, sir.
So
Nice to meet you.
I have a question. So I live near the first gate, and with the exception of the 26th of December, I can't recall our power ever being off for more than maybe 30 minutes.
Okay.
But I've gotten information from a resident that lives further out on the island, in the area around Rhett's Bluff. Now, obviously, these feeders that you were talking about, we are probably on different feeders.
Yep.
If this resident was telling me that he feels he has unsatisfactory power stability, meaning that he gets frequent blips of power outage, would that be because of his equipment that feeds him is different than what's feeding me in that area of the island?
And Bert, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Rhett's Bluff. That's behind the second gate, the B gate. That's the Rhett's Bluff area.
That's more towards the golf course.
Yeah,
No,
river
it's-
course. That's
Our
correct.
river course, yeah.
So to answer that question, you definitely can always, common knowledge would say yes, that would be probably it. But I would answer, and I'm careful how I answer this. There's many of variables that causes that. It could be as small as just a weak neutral or weak anything. That there could be an error on it could be on his side, or and if I'd be happy to look into it, because we have some very sophisticated equipment that monitors every single blip. And we normally compile that and find out if there is an actual issue. So, and I can look at this and I'll get back with you and see if you want to tell me, where he is, what his meter is.
I'll do that separate from this meeting. I'll send you a note.
Yeah.
Through Stephanie and maybe we can just take a look, because it'd be interesting to be able to give him a satisfactory response of his concerns.
Yeah, and I'd like to know, a lot of times folks, state that they may have problems, but don't never really let us know. And we might need to know that, because there may be something underlying. It may be something, and we've seen it go both ways. It could be something to do with us, and it also could be, a lot of times it could be done inside the panel box too. So,
Okay.
yeah, if you definitely got concerns, let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr.
I'm going to add one. This is Steve Sager again. I'm going to add one little comment to this. The first thing you might want to do is have him check. I bet he's got a whole house surge arrestor that's probably 1 million years old and MOV based. It may be failing on him. The way you describe the problem, that's very common.
His concern wasn't his own house. It was the area that he lives in.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
I got you, but I understand, Steve. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jim?
Yeah, and there's a lot of variables, like as Steve would say. It's not something we can always say. Yeah, oh yeah, Vanderhorst 6, 53%, not so good. Yeah, let's do some digging on that, because we like to make sure that we look at the full picture. So be happy to do that, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
This is Jim Gillenbert. I'm just wondering, now that the Legreeville substation is supplying all of our power, and we're not getting it from Wadmalaw or Seabrook or other places, how much spare capacity would you say that Legreeville has? And what would be the most likely cause of loss of power in the future?
So 2 questions there. Spare capacity. So we doubled. We actually, you were standing with 1 power transformer. I can get the details of, what capacity percentages, but just to give you a kind of a quick answer on that, you're twice as good as you were in 2019. So your load was fine all through, inception. And basically from the time that y'all connected versus to 2019, we just saw the area growing at such a wild, fast pace. We wanted to go ahead and double. So you're double the capacity. Okay. And the second question is, that's a good question. Most of the time, anytime that you have power outages, and a lot of people don't know this, but we have protection equipment that does proactive protection. And that's probably 9 times out of 10, the most problem. So if something gets caught on the line, or if you have anything to do with deteriorating cable, I think I talked with Stephanie, so a couple weeks ago, y'all had an outage. We had a bad piece of cable that went bad. And just like Mr. Was it Steve Sager? He knows
Yep.
well about how bad cable can go. And bad cable was in the ground, and you don't never know that there's going to be a problem, but all of a sudden it just pops up. So, there's a lot. You don't have much overhead. I think 99% of your cables are in the ground, in switchgear pads. So you really don't have any vulnerable areas that we're going to show that animals are hitting the line or anything like that. So I would say the second part of that question is to answer failure of equipment, cable, or just bad storms like we had last night. So, and a lot of times that happens. So hopefully that answered your question.
A bad storm though, if 99% is underground, what would be vulnerable in a bad storm?
In the feeders, in the substation feeders, substation.
Okay.
Everything's transmissions above line, transmission, 230,000 volts is going in. So we have a lot of obstruction going in that way. So yeah, just because everything's underground doesn't mean that the source is not going to be interrupted. Good question. Very good.
And Bert, you don't own any of those transmission lines, correct?
We do not own transmission. We own everything up to the hook switch as it comes in 230, but we drop it down to 25,000. We own 25,000 and distribution. That is correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mary Ann, you had a question?
Yes, Bert, I'd like to ask you, at the last time Berkeley Electric spoke to the council recently, it wasn't that long ago, you mentioned a mobile unit that you have. And I was wondering, give me a little information on that mobile unit. I also was wondering if you have backup transformers, because in my experience, not just here, it's very hard to get transformers quickly.
So very good question. So that's 2 parts.
Sure is.
Yes, mobile substation. She's referring to last month we had a meeting that stated, we drove the mobile sub up to the substation. And when I say mobile sub, if you can just think as in when you ride by and you look at LaGrieville or any of the substations, Vanderhorst, any of the ones you see, they're stationary and they are built to withstand any type of weather. But we have a pretty sophisticated system. We feed 110,000 people, 110,000 meters. And at any point, we have substations all across our system. If one of those power transformers goes down, we're able to hook that up to an 18-wheeler. We keep it in a central location, and we drive under the transmission line. We hook it up, and that becomes now the new substation. It's portable because it's on an actual 18-wheeler frame. So we do have that. It was brought in, I think it was brought in the week that we talked, or actually the week of, first of the week of January, just for, in case that happens again. So, and we have 2 of them. We have one on order and we have one now. So we definitely have that in place. Is hopefully that the answer that you wanted?
Well, that's part of it. How much service can that provide?
How much service?
Yes. So if Kiowa Island was out of power altogether, would that help us?
Yeah, that would feed Kiowa.
Everyone?
You know, it all depends on how low the load factors, depending on what time of year, but yes. But once again, just to make sure, we've put two in place where it was only one. So now you've got, for instance, a portable sub I mean, you know, you've got a portable sub and you've got two transformers now. So you definitely are twice the capacity as well as the portable sub. The portable sub's not to feed 100% of, Wadmalaw, Johns Island, all that. It's made to feed what the capacity will be able to handle. And also just to make sure we are talking, we have to have transmission to make that work. So a lot of times transmission goes out. So that
Right.
I don't know the actual KW size of that. It's probably going to be pretty big, as in I'd have to check that. But I think what you're more worried about is if something like this happens again, will Kiowa be back up? And that's all to be, depending on what time of year. But right now, you have two actual major power transformers where you only had one. So I think you should feel pretty rest assured that you'll be fine. And I think you had a second part of that question. I'm sorry, I didn't write that down.
Backup transformer.
When you say backup transformer, are you meaning like the backup transformer you see on the roads, or are you saying backup transformer as in power transformer in the actual substation?
Well, a couple of years ago, when we had one of the hurricanes, had 4 years in a row, the one substation near the beginning of NP2 transformer was ruined, and it had to be replaced. But it takes time to get those transformers placed. That's what I'm asking about.
So you're speaking of a distribution transformer. If y'all ever decide to ride to our new office, you'll be able to see it. We have tons of transformers just waiting in line. So yeah, we have plenty of transformers. We don't order amongst when we have a problem. So we wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay.
So yeah, we have plenty in store.
All right. Thank you, Bert.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question.
Anyone else have any questions for Bert? Any burning
Just
questions?
one more. I had mentioned it last meeting, Steve Sager again. If we have another outage, any chance you can get me access to your SCADA system so I can look at what the problems might have been? Like most utility companies will say, absolutely not. But
yeah, that would be a red flag.
It would be a red flag. I know. You have to have all the lawyers present.
Yeah, I mean, the SCADA system is pretty complex, and we don't like to put key. I mean, I think we have about 7 PEs. I would say just a couple of those PEs have the keys to get into the SCADA system. Because as you well know, as an electrical engineer, that SCADA system controls everything.
It controls your whole system.
A whole system. I would love to say yes, you can have it, but I doubt you. I won't be the guy that says no, but I'm sure the answer would be no. And you would want that, I think. You wouldn't want nobody else trying to play with your power.
I don't want anybody else getting in there. I want to be the only one.
Yeah.
But actually, I mentioned when I first introduced myself, I worked a lot with Horace. Now that he's retired, he's been retired a long time, and he wouldn't let me in. He said, "Come on, you know better than that."
Yeah, I mean, as much as I'm a politician, I like to give and give, but I don't know if I could do that.
Okay. Thought I'd ask a question. I'll ask it again if we have a problem out here.
I don't have access to the SCADA system.
Okay.
Jim, you had another question?
Yes. Bert, how much capacity would you say Legreeville has as extra capacity? Say at the max, if you have a maximum load on it, how much extra capacity does it have?
I would have to definitely ask that question. That would definitely have to be something that would you want that in KW, or do you want that in actual, how would you want that answered?
Well, I'm just wondering if you've got two power systems out there, and I'm limited in my vocabulary with this, but are you running both of them right now with
Yes.
this winter weather?
Yes.
And in the summertime, would you expect to do the same?
It's always going to be the same. So it's not something that you would cut on and cut off. If you can kind of visualize this, and please excuse my rhetoric, you've got 230,000 volts coming in, and that's coming from transmission. Then it comes down into two large transformers. Those are hardwired into feeders. All we did was we divided the feeders up. So it's not like we go out. It's not like we go out to the barn and cut the actual power transformers on when there's a need. It's not that. Those transformers are being fed high voltage, then it goes to medium voltage, and then it goes to lower voltage at your home. So I don't want you to think that we are adjusting, that voltage as needed. We're not doing that. That is hardwired. It's already in place. So I think you have nothing to worry about.
So to put it in lay terms, because I'm with Jim, I'm not an electrical engineer, but if you, prior to the Legreeville expansion, you had a pipe for electricity of a given size, and we exhausted that pipe's capacity on the 26th of December. But now you've got a pipe that's twice as big, and so it's going to be really difficult, if I hear you correctly, it's going to be really difficult for us to exhaust that larger pipe's capacity. Is that a fair lay definition?
That's pretty darn on point, but the only thing you need to make sure that you understand is when you were being fed on 26th of December, you were not being fed by any of that.
Oh, no, I understand that part. It was somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were actually there was a whole nother pipe that was trying to feed you and, Seabrook.
Gotcha.
So if you can kind of visualize that, you're not expanding the capacity of that which you had on the 26th. You just went. So we basically took the extension cord and went to another house and got that power. So now the extension cord is at a whole nother plant, and it's double what it was prior to 2019. So I think the capacity is. I mean, and if you want to know the actual, load capacity, they definitely will, be glad to give that to me. But, anything, that's the hard thing of thinking. When we had the problem on that day, we were sharing from something that we never really needed. We did that to offline that substation. So you were, if you were on that substation that night, you would have been fine. But the problem was we were sharing another substation.
Okay.
Bert, how much extra capacity would you say Legreeville has from what Kiowa needs?
I'll need to get back with you on that, because I'll have to ask what size megawatt was placed in there. I can do this. I can actually give you what was the design, and then I'll tell you what was added.
So I know Houston is having rolling power outages now because their grid system is exceeded with these unusually cold temperatures. And I'm just wondering if that would happen to us, or what it would take for that to happen to us. I guess my question is, how are we most vulnerable now? Or is the Legreeville subject to being taken out of service due to flooding, or is it all pretty high enough above ground where that wouldn't happen? Or is it subject more to a really cold or a really hot stretch of weather?
So the Legreeville substation is, like you said, is definitely on higher ground. all the equipment, if you ever ride by there, it's up in the air at least 10, 15 feet, plus the transmission is, 30 feet. So if you had a problem with flooding, it's not gonna be in the substation. The problem what you're gonna have is when you walk outside and you go to the mailbox and you see the little green transformer or the green pedestal, that's your problem. So Legreeville feeds all these little small pieces of equipment, and those small pieces of equipment are it's going to be ones that fail because they're closer to the water, and they're going to be they're more level ground. So that would be the reasoning of your outage. It wouldn't be the substation. We've never had to, we've had to worry about shutting substations down, but it's not the fact that the substations couldn't get washed out. It's the fact that the smaller distribution equipment that sits in y'all's, in your yards, in your landscape, the things that you see every day, that's going to be vulnerable.
Are utilities, electrical utilities rated for reliability in terms of how probable they are to fail? Are they rated on a scale with each other? And I wonder if so, do you have a rating for Berkeley?
Are you mainly asking if is there like a UL standard for the equipment we're putting out?
Well, I'm just wondering, is there a standard that above which you're required to be, and then how do you stack up with your competition? And what do you? I'm just wondering. I know that everybody has vulnerabilities with all the hurricanes we have, with all the new people moving to this area. Is going to increase load. It's going to increase vulnerability. I'm just wondering what reliability rating system there is, if any.
The reliability is based on what I'll send Stephanie, and you'll see that, and we are increasingly changing that. So that's kind of the industry standard. So I'll send that to you. That should probably give you a better idea.
Okay.
I think I know the question you're asking, but it's an insurance company question, and it's like the question they ask is, have you got a contingency for all possible disasters or failures? Well, gee, no, there's a few I haven't thought of, like a meteor hitting the other side of the earth. All possible is just not. Actually, I think you did a good job, Bert, explaining the Legreeville substation improvements. And I was waiting for you to talk about a percentage increase. I know you didn't go from 100% to 200%, but you maybe went from 100% to 180%.
And that's exactly right. And and just to give y'all a background, I'm definitely not an engineer. I've been around in the business for 17 years to know the way how to talk about the actual equipment, and I know the actual equipment very well. But I do know that we doubled load, we doubled capacity, and I don't, do I need, if you need to know megawatt terms, KW terms, I can get that. That's just sometimes that gets kind of caught in the weeds, and a lot of times folks don't really hear what megawatt KW ratings. You just want to make sure that you got at least twice or three times capacity, and that's kind of where we went on those. Double capacity is basic where we are. You were at one transformer, now you're feeding by two transformers, and this will take you through the whole building career of Kiowa.
Bert, what is your biggest fear for loss, or what would cause a loss of power on Kiowa?
Biggest fear would be hurricane.
And that would, since everything's underground, where would the vulnerability be?
In those little small pieces of switch gear distribution inside your yard. Because they're going to be the ones that are level on the ground. They're grade level. And as you well know, I've heard a lot of civil guys, grade level sometimes is not going to be good for electrical work. So if it comes to the fact that we have to shut the substation down just to make sure that the salt water does not tear up, because a lot of times nobody wants to hear that they're getting their power cut off. They would rather power be cut off by a storm. But in a proactive approach, we would have to do that to make sure we don't have to repair all those things. So that's kind of the stance that we take. But yes, sir, the stuff that's on grade level is going to be the ones that are going to take the most hit. Good question.
And can you identify all of that?
I'm sorry.
Can you identify all of those switching gears?
As in, do you want me to go ahead?
I don't want you to identify them, but I want to know somewhere there's a record. So if these need to be repaired, do you know where you're going?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. And that was the actual picture that I showed.
Okay.
That's the equipment. That's the 94. Like, that's what I was telling you about the inspection.
Okay, thank you.
If everyone recalls that Matthew, he prophylactically shut off the power.
Right.
And that worked out well because after it passed, we were all evacuated and it all came on without major problems. So that's the proper thing to do. If we have a hurricane, we should be evacuated. Let them shut the power off and turn it back on. And there was very little problems after Matthew with electricity.
And thank you for adding that. And we don't never want to shut it off but proactively, if you can think of it, it's just like if the water is present and the electricity is still there, you're going to have a lot of sparks and arcs, and that's going to cause a ton of problems. So it would.
Go ahead, Bert.
Yeah, what I was saying was, so when you have arcs and stuff like that inside these pieces of equipment, we have to visit every piece of that equipment to fix it. But if we shut it off, we let things reside, we carefully cut it back on circuit by circuit, things should be fine. So that's kind of the approach.
Okay, if we can be able to, and I would just add to that, when they preemptively shut it off with Matthew, it took a little longer for it to come back on, but it wasn't because of Berkeley Electric's fault. It was because we had so much water on the island. It took a while for the water to level down, and we didn't have any pumps to help them pump the water out quickly. So it took a little longer for them to bring it back up, but people were evacuated. So that really didn't come into play. I mean, when people came back, there was still some power out, but it was just because there was so much water, salt water, that we had to wait for the water to recede before they can start powering things back up. But I do want to touch on a few other things just on our agenda, but is there any last questions for Bert before he has a lot of follow-up to do? Go ahead.
Just a quick question, Bert, the equipment that you're referring to that would give you the most concern are the little boxes that each of us have at our homes. Is that correct?
No.
That's correct.
Oh, in the ground.
Yep. It would be single phase cabinets, 3-phase cabinets. It would be small distribution transformers that are metal, anything like that.
And Steve, you said in the ground. These are above the ground, the ones I'm referring to.
Yeah.
No, what are you talking about? What's above the ground?
The green
little
boxes that sit in your
green
yard.
boxes with ventilation on them that every house has.
Well, unless you're talking about the meter. What happens is you have a transformer somewhere that serves 3 to 5 houses on a residential street. That transformer is about 2.5 feet high and sitting right on a fiberglass pad on the ground, above the ground. And then out of that transformer comes a secondary, with the 120, 230 volt system. And that goes over to feed pedestals, I call them. My dog just showed up, excuse me. I have to pet her. And it feeds, the pedestals have, stop me if I'm wrong, Bert, load break elbows in them, so that if some work needs to be done on your on your meter, that which is connected to your house, and they have to pull the meter out, they can disconnect at that load break elbow to kill the power that's actually connected to your house. Did I say that correct, Bert?
Yes, sir, you did. Load break would be on the primary side, 25,000 volts.
You have low. Trust me, I just had a meter pulled at my house, and I was going to plug the meter back in myself. Shame on me. And I had some work to do on the service laterals. Anyway, when Berkeley came and pulled the meter for me, they also opened the secondary. Well, maybe they're not load break elbows. I don't know what they are, but there's some kind of in pedestals, there's some kind of disconnect, so because that pedestal feeds several houses.
Yeah, load break is going to be on your primary side, and we do have load break elbows in certain switching cabinets, but that would be on the 25,000 volt side. I think what you're thinking of is 600 volt pedestals that have just regular bars. We call them connectors, neutral bars. They are submersible, and we do have they're made wet rated.
Got it.
Yes, sir. But yeah, you're right. You're exactly right.
All right.
Can we get on to the rest of the agenda, Stephanie?
Yes. I'm not sure who said that, but Bert, if there's what we're going to do is you can go ahead and you can sign off if you like. We're going to go ahead and move on with we have a few more items on the agenda that we just need to finish.
Thank you for the time. Hopefully I was able to answer some questions.
I think you did great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
for your help.
Everybody. Take care.
Look forward to talking to you in the future.
Yep. Y'all take care. Bye bye.
Bye. Okay, the last item on the agenda, I just wanted to update you guys and just have a very brief discussion. So we're still in the process of trying to gather information. And I know, John, you'll have to pop off in a minute. But this is discussion on Beachwalker Drive pedestrian table. So Inlet Cove property owners, when the whole issue came up with the side, they had asked to have, I call it pedestrian table. At the time, we had Kimberly Horn, who is our.
There's a lot of feedback on your voice there, Stephanie.
Yeah, somebody's got their volume. Somebody must have their volume way up. That's feeding back into it. So keep your volume down because we're hearing Stephanie twice.
Let's see. Can you guys? Maybe it's mine. So they were asking if they can also have speed tables because they were concerned about traffic. Beachwalker Drive, Kimberly Horn, who did all of our design work for Beachwalker Drive. They also did some preliminary studies. They looked at it at the time. They determined that there wasn't enough speed to warrant a speed table. So we did not move forward with it, but then we kept receiving requests for one. And then council decided that they would consider it. We budgeted $15,000. Brian looked at Kika to see about how much they paid for their for those speed tables on Dune side. It was about $12,000 each. Anyways, we budgeted $15,000. We received 2 quotes, one from True Luck. This is for one speed table. They quoted $49,000 and Three Oaks $29,000. We decided at the time not to move forward. We have another request again. And so one of the things I talked with the mayor is that we look at all of Beachwalker Drive. We have Kimberly Horn coming to another study with the former mayor Weaver, one of the things that we had talked about was when the partners came about wanting to amend the development agreement for parcel 13 to go ahead and do a pedestrian traffic study for Beachwalker, because we knew that the increase in development would cause more traffic at the time. We didn't move forward with it. So I brought it to the attention of the new mayor. And so I'm bringing it before you all to see, kind of hear your thoughts, how we should proceed before, move forward with Inlet Cove. Any comments or suggestions on that? If you need to think about it and get back with me, that's fine. Jim, yes.
Well, the two quotes you got are roughly, one is roughly twice the other. I'd
Yes.
like to see what they represent if you're going to consider them.
I'm not saying we would consider those. I think at this point, what we would probably need to do is either have some sort of study done by Kimberly Horn, which it was about, I think, $10,000 or so, $10,000 or $12,000. If we decide not to do that, I would have to bid it out, because if this cost is going to come in over potentially 20,000, I think it's best just to go ahead. It could be a small bid proposal. I don't foresee this as being something overly complicated, but actually having a bid proposal so that we can compare apples to apples. This is just something that we thought would be, that we can easily do. We went to True Luck in Three Oaks. We thought they would quote about 12,000, we would do it, but at their cost, we would need to go out for a bid on it.
So Warren, with your experience in roads and stuff, how would you address the speed issue on Beachwalker Drive? Is speed tables the right thing to be looking at?
It's one option. I mean, somebody's complaining about speed. Has there been an officer out there or anybody checking that these are validated speed situations?
Mm-hmm. And
okay,
if I determined that they're speeding there, I think what Inlet Cove has, their concern, of course, is the Beachwalker Drive summer traffic and just the flow of traffic. So what we, of course, did as council, that we added that right turn lane in to allow it for a little bit of stacking. But ultimately, they're just concerned with the amount of vehicles on Beachwalker Drive.
No, if you have the justification, yeah, speed tables are as good as anything. They really are. Speed bumps are kind of nasty, but yeah, that's a good option.
Another issue out there, Stephanie, is right now they haven't opened up Duneside yet, so everybody coming in and out of Timbers is using Beachwalker. So I think we should see what it's like when they open up Duneside, which should have been open by now. I don't know why it hasn't. I mean, I don't like the idea of Duneside anyway, but once they open up Duneside, all the people coming in and out of Timbers will not be coming down Beachwalker Drive.
That's an option, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we should find out when is Duneside going to open up and then do an analysis as opposed to spending money now. I don't know, what's the speed limit sign up there? Is it 25?
No, I think it's 30, maybe.
Oh, that should definitely go down to 15. Try that first.
I think it's about that much, but again, it's not. I don't think, and honestly, Timbers, I don't think they generate that much traffic because it's fractional ownership. I think because this issue has been going on since I've been here for 5 years, and that predates Timbers. Ultimately, I think what Inlet Cove owners are really concerned with and wanting to figure out a way to address is the Beachwalker, it's the park, it's people going to Beachwalker Park, going to the beach. And it used to be just a few months, as you guys all are residents here. It used to be just a few months in the summer. It's now turning into about probably a 7 to 8 month issue. And so it's the only road, so we can't close the road, obviously. But I don't know what else to do. And that's why they're saying we want a speed table as well. And so it's really, I think, not a speeding issue, but I think for them it's a safety issue. And so, David, I don't know what we can do with regards to dealing with that.
Well,
Are there a lot of people? Go ahead. Go ahead.
At Duneside, the speed limit sign was 25 miles an hour, which was too fast. They lowered it to 15. If the speed limit's 30 on Beachwalker, it's got to be lowered. I mean, that would be step one. I don't have any objection to speed tables, but you know, people that drive every day that aren't speeding, you know, it's kind of like speed tables are good to slow people down, but it aggravates a lot of people that don't speed because they really have to slow down.
So speed tables also double as crosswalks in a lot of cases.
And that's what I was going to add. I think it's more, so for Inlet Cove residents, one of the issues is that crossing over to get to the beach. And that's why I proposed a speed table and not a speed hump, because to me, when I'm listening to them, it's more of a safety issue. We've looked at it, it's not really a speeding issue. And to be able to add speed tables, I think that would help. There are certain cross areas on Beachwalker that they use to be able to cross over to use the path to get to the beach. And that's where potentially we would add a speed table. But again, I don't know if adding one speed table is sufficient or if we should add more. Or David, like you said, wait and see if when they open up Duneside, if that addresses the problem. I don't think it will, because again, the problem predates that development, and it really has to do with the traffic going to Beachwalker Park and not necessarily.
Stephanie, I would agree. I'm going to kind of switch gears here and kind of change my attitude a little on this. On Duneside, Warren's right. They put the speed tables where there's crosswalks. They serve two purposes, and that is a safety issue. And if people that are in that area are concerned about crossing the road, then I think the speed tables would kill two birds with one stone, protect them from a safety standpoint and also slow the speed down. So, you know, I think if it's with the reasonable cost, based upon the street crossing, which I didn't really realize how much of it there was out there, I think it's a good idea.
What is a speed table?
It's a speed bump that's about 8 feet wide.
Okay.
If you go down Duneside, there's a couple of them out there. You'll see them. They really work as a crosswalk and as to slow traffic down.
That sounds like a good compromise.
Sorry, and the speed tables as well, a lot of the emergency responders like the speed tables, because if you're having to obviously respond to something, you're going over speed table, it has less impact on the vehicle than a speed hump where you basically hit that hump.
Yeah,
It's much more gentle.
Beachwalker is such a relatively short road. It seems to me it's hard for people to get up too much speed. And then in the summertime, you're going to have the traffic backed up to turn into the Beachwalker Park. I think that speed table would be good. But Stephanie, that you said speed is not the concern. What is the concern? Is too much traffic?
Yeah, ultimately it's safety and traffic. There is, I'm not going to say there's no speeding, because right now it's just for the most part it curves a little bit, but it's a straight road. You can pick up pretty good speed going down that road, but I think for them it's more safety and traffic than the speeding. We did look at the speeding, and there wasn't as much speeding, I think, as they think. Of course, when you're on the bike path and you see cars visually pass you, people are thinking that they're speeding, but we had the black box put up when this happened, when this came up, and there wasn't a lot of speeding occurring.
I don't know what you can do about the traffic. Duneside is a further, I mean, most people coming in and out are going on and off the island. Duneside is a long way around, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, that's a whole other thing, Jim, because everybody comes in and out of Timbers now through Beachwalker. When they open up Duneside, they're closing off the Beachwalker exit. So they're all going to have to come down Duneside, in front of Cougar, around the rotary, hit a couple of stop signs and turn left to get off the island. And my prediction is that people that are here a long time in that area are going to get sick and tired of that and going to want to go out the other way again. I made a bet with somebody on the partners and they wouldn't take that bet. So, but once they open up Duneside, they're not going to be able to come in and out through Beachwalker. They're going to have to go through Duneside. And all of the condominiums that the partners just sold, the left side is if you're in front of, if you're on Duneside and Timbers is to your left, the property immediately after that has been sold to, I think it's East West Partners, and they're putting in condominiums there. All of those condominiums are going to have to exit Duneside also. And the partners are developing on the right side with some condos. Some of those are going to go out Beachwalker, some of those are coming out Duneside. So when all of those are developed, Duneside's going to be as busy as it's here around the Parkway, unfortunately.
So I think that'll help the traffic, Stephanie, and the speed bump will help the speeding.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just try to put together probably just a 1.5 page or so bid proposal to go out. I'll have you guys take a look before I send it out. That way we'll have an idea that everyone's comparing apples to apples. We'll actually have written quotes that we can look at, and then we can make a recommendation to council if they need to move forward based on the cost. And I don't even know how many speed pedestrian tables we'll need, but I don't know if it's 1, 2, 3. I don't know that answer.
And Stephanie, as part of that, on Duneside in one direction, they should have in both directions, they have a sign that says speed hump because a lot of people can't see it. So
Right.
as part of that proposal, include, striping the appropriate sort of sidewalk markings and the speed hump signs with it so that we don't add them in later.
Yeah, we would definitely make sure that that's part of the, when they submit their bid costs, that they add signage and striping as needed. Okay, well then hopefully by next month, I'll have something for you guys to take a look at, if not before. Okay, is there any committee members that have comments before we adjourn?
Yeah, Stephanie, I'd like to know what the status of paving in front of Town Hall. I set out, and I think I sent it to everybody, I hope everybody got it, the ASHTO standards for leisure trails, which clearly, the area we've been talking about forever doesn't even come close to meeting that standard anyway. But the status of what's going to happen with the bike path, what's going to happen with the turn lane, vis-a-vis the buses, what's the status of all of that? Because that's important. We've been, for a year now, we've been talking about all that stuff and nothing's been done. And the patch didn't work, as you know. I think just about everybody on the committee is not happy with the puddle in the patch, and we just think, how are we going to fix all of that? Or are we just going to let it go?
As of right now, we haven't done anything with it, honestly, David. We have talked with our engineers, and they are telling us, and they put it in writing, that it is designed to ASHTO standards. I've talked with the county engineers, and while they may not like it, they looked at it and they have not said that it's not designed to ASHTO standards. So as of right now, we have not had any, we're not moving forward with making any changes to it.
Well, I would take the engineers that are doing the work, their opinion, throw it out the window. If the county says it doesn't meet ASHTO standards, that's it. Now, if the town decides to leave it that way, I just want to, I'm happy that the county says it doesn't meet ASHTO standards because it's clear. And Warren, I sent that to you also. What's your opinion?
I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
You didn't get that email?
No, sir.
Okay.
I didn't either.
Well,
Hey, David, neither did I.
Well, I don't know what happened.
Hey,
The ASHTO standard shows, just to let you know, and I'll resend it out again. It shows a bike trail, and it shows a 10 to 14 foot bike trail. We don't have a 10-footer, but it also shows a 2-foot shoulder on either side with a maximum 6-to-1 slope on either side. So effectively, whether you have an 8, 10, or 14-foot leisure trail, as they call it, there's got to be a 2-foot shoulder that can slope upward 1 in 6 or downward 1 in 6. And in that section, we don't have that on either side. We got a curb on one side, which clearly shouldn't be there. and on the other side, it just drops off. So I sent that out. I will resend it. I looked at my sent email. It went out. I don't know what happened. But
If you can resend it, that'd be great. But I do want to say that the county engineer looked at it and they looked at the slope and we sent them the as-built and they reviewed that and everything's in line. And so the county engineers did not see anything wrong with it. It's more of a personal preference when it boiled down to it. So the county engineers did review it and we did send them the as-built.
no,
That's when we found out that that's when we found out that there were certain sections of the trail that did not meet standards. And so that's when Banks came back out and they did some work and regrind and we resent the as-built. So everything now is.
No, I understand that the county approved it. I just want to make it a point that it doesn't meet ASHTO standards as I see them. And you know, if the town's going to accept it as is because the county says it's okay, so be it. But I still think, I know the buses can't turn there, and I know we still have the ugly patch and we have the puddle, and I just want to know what's going to happen there. I know they have to either temporarily do some work out there so that the buses can turn in, and that would be the time to fix that problem.
Yeah, and okay, but as of right now, there's nothing that the town's going to do, with the exception of if the PGA needs to widen that apron to be able to turn the buses in, then we've already told them that they can do that.
And at our last meeting, I know Brian's on his paternity leave now. He was going to look at replacing and/or lighting the two signs, the one at the Rotary and the one at the first gate. Has there been any progress on that?
Yeah, I actually just approved Friday the proposal for the lighting plan. So that's moving forward. That was Carolina Landscaping or something or other, but I did approve that invoice last week.
What about the upgrades of the sign? Is anything going to happen there?
Well, what I'm going to do, no. So what I'll have to do is re-look at that. So when that request came to the former mayor, it not approved because that sign upgrade would have been, they proposed, it was about 30 to 35,000 to do that. And we didn't get.
I understand that. And I had a conversation with Brian about that. That was a complete removal of the existing sign and a complete rebuild, et cetera, which is entirely unnecessary. If you talk to Brian, I talked to him about just taking the horizontal planks off, flipping them over, refinishing them, and putting new signage on the edge based on that proposal. And it can't possibly cost that much. The whole pylon structure, base, et cetera, doesn't need to be replaced, but they just stick out as being old, tired signs. And lighting and not lit out, they just don't look right.
Okay, I'll talk with Brian again to see if he's been able to find who. Do you know? Well, I'll talk with him to see if he knows who we can reach out to give us a quote just for doing that work instead of using. I don't remember the company name. They might be able to do it. The company that did the sign package for Kiowa or for Kika. I'll reach out to Brian on that, David, and see if we can just do that, because yeah, if we can do that and the cost is substantially less, I can see this council approving that and moving forward with it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Questions? Okay, if not, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Guys, next month, be safe.